Explain who Hence is and what he brings, please. Okay. So in the 2020 draft, the Cardinals went a little bit of a different way than they normally do in the draft because that was the COVID year and there was no college baseball. They're typically drafting a lot of collegiate pitchers. And they still did get one. Ian Bedell, I think, was that year out of Mizzou. He's still in the org. But they also went a little bit different and said, we got an opportunity to get some really high upside kids, and they're out of high school. Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, and Tink Hence, all part of that 2020 class, all out of high school. So it's a little bit early to be able to figure exactly what he's going to be because he was a pretty skinny kid coming out. He's still not a big dude, but he's put some muscle on, and he hasn't thrown a ton of innings yet in the minors. He's been very, very slowly brought along. I'll pull up Tink's stats so that I can give you guys the info. And unlike last year, I'm not going to be able to eventually I'll be able to figure out like streaming. I'm going to put, the baseball reference page up on the screen when I'm looking at it. But for tonight, I'm just going to read it to you. 2021, he pitched a little bit in rookie ball, 8 innings. 2022, A ball through 52 innings. Last year, he got up to 96 total innings between Peoria and Springfield. So Mo said in the dugout on the home opener, like somebody asked him 100 innings for Hence. He said, oh, yeah, we think that needs to be. I think they really need to push him to about 110, 115. That'd be ideal. You don't want to go crazy from 96 and jump up to 140 or anything like that. But I do think there's something to be said for let's just, put a little more stress on this guy. He's only 21, 22 years old. Let me see when he turns 22. Not till August. So he's 21 years old. He's in Double-A. This is just that year where I think if he makes a leap, you can start to talk about what his MLB trajectory is. But what he brings is dynamic stuff. He had 8 strikeouts today in 5 innings for Springfield. Didn't walk anybody and gave up a run. This could be a big summer for Tink Hence, and we could finally have the answer to the question on the behalf of the Cardinals, which is like, when are they going to develop a starter that they can end up putting into the rotation, plug somebody in, and suddenly, boom, you've got a guy that you feel like $750,000 or whatever the MLB minimum will be at that point in time. You've got a guy that you don't have to sign an $11 million Kyle Gibson. No affront to Kyle Gibson. I'm all about Gibby. But when the Cardinals have to get 2 or 3 of those guys every year, whether it's in the offseason or at the deadline, that puts you into a position that suddenly you're going, this is not like the optimal way to build a rotation. If you have a Tink Hence that, and this isn't going to be a slight on Zach Thompson, but right now, how do you view Zach? He's kind of that number 6 that can be your number 5 if you're in a pinch, right? He hasn't necessarily proven that he's going to be a top-end rotation arm. You can see the potential there, especially if he can start to get the velocity back up. I think that's another element of it for Zach Thompson that's just like, yeah, that's the next step in the process for Zach Thompson as my hair starts to do a little weird thing at the front of my hat. We're just going to let it happen. Right now he's dealing with some mechanical stuff, and so he's not throwing 95 like he used to could. If Zach Thompson can get there, maybe he can be a number 2. But like, they haven't had that guy who they develop him. He's up, and he's not a number 5 just sneaking in. He's your number 2. Like, he's legit near the top of the rotation arm. The Cardinals, it's been a little bit since they've been able to have that. So they are really looking for that guy to be able to sort of round out their rotation. I'm going to fix this, too, because it's bothering the crap out of me. If you're just watching it on watching this video audio-wise the next day, it's just that one frickin' hair. This is going to be an all-timer of people going, why is he messing with his hair? I almost said a bad word. They need to have somebody developed. That's the name of the game for this rotation. Somebody internally, develop someone, and then you can build around. And when a Jordan Montgomery opportunity comes up, suddenly you're able to take advantage of it rather than going, well, we did have to spend on our 4 and our 5, and we had to buy a 1. Having the ability to develop one of these dudes would be massive. Tink could be that guy. Could be that answer. If you had to guess, will Tink be in the rotation opening day next year? Tink Hence, 8 strikeouts tonight. I believe it was 5 shutout innings for the old Springfield Cardinals? This is a big year for Tink Hence. Will he be in the opening day rotation? I'm going to say no. Will he be seen in 2025 in the big leagues? If 2024 goes well, health-wise goes well, progression-wise, 100%. He'll be up by next year. It's not impossible, pending whatever happens injury-wise, how this team, it's not impossible you'd see him this year. I mean, if he goes 5 innings, 3 runs, pardon me, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks, and 8 Ks every time he pitches, you're going to see him in 2024. Now, that's I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. The Cardinals are going to take their time with him for sure, but I think you got to like what you're seeing, and the Cardinals need to see more of it. They want to see innings from this guy. He needs to clear 100 innings, maybe 110, maybe a little more. I feel like that's something that probably needs to take place in order to have some confidence that you can pencil him in for next year. And pencil just means, hey, write his name in the periphery of the rotation. Like, would you go into the offseason and make a statement of, we're not signing back some of these guys because we want to leave a spot open for Tink? No, but I think spring training 2025 will be massive for Tink Hence, especially if he has a good year this year. Maybe he probably gets to AAA during this year. Maybe he's knocking on the door of the big leagues. And then it's like, okay, show us against big leaguers. Do it in spring. They're going to give him a long look if 2024 ends up being like a rocket ship for his value. So, yeah, that's a great question, PJ, and thank you for your first super chat. YouTube told me that's your first one you've ever done. It means a lot that you do that for me. I think it's a great question. I think it's just a matter of, let's see the innings first. We need to see a full year of Tink. How many innings does he throw? How many innings does that allow the Cardinals to project that he'll throw next year? And then they can start penciling in what his workload could be in a big league capacity. But wouldn't it be great that we talk about these Cardinal pitchers, Jordan Hicks, goes to the Giants to become a starter, and now he looks really good. Cardinals really never gave him that full runway to be a starter. I know there were a couple times where they did, but it was kind of like haphazard, like, we probably should do this because he wants it. Ryan Helsley's the closer, and he's awesome, right? But he never really failed as a minor league starter. Jordan Hicks certainly never failed as a minor league starter. And a lot of times the philosophy back in the, Carlos Martinez days, Waino days, Lance Lynn days, Dakota Hudson, until you really failed as a starter, they weren't going to make you a reliever. But the caveat to that is if you throw 100, Trevor Rosenthal threw 100, you don't get to be a starter, right? So do you regret that a little bit if you're the Cardinals? I don't know. Tink Hence is kind of a dynamic arm where everybody's like, hey, what's he going to be? But he hasn't thrown a bunch of innings. They've taken it really easily. You could see the Cardinals just falling back into their old ways and going, hey, we just need this arm. Let's get him up. He's a reliever. They're not going to do that, I don't think, with Tink Hence because they know that it's these opportunities to make something happen and maybe get a dynamic arm on the major league minimum for a few years in that rotation. It's too valuable of an opportunity, but it's a big year for Tink Hence. It really is.